And we are back, guys. What's up? New setup, I know. I'm probably driving you guys crazy with the new setup. So I moved, as you may know, the last episode. There was literally boxes all around me, behind me, everywhere, literally everywhere, as far as the eye can see. And it's because your boy was moving. And the reason why your boy was moving is because my last apartment, it was cool, it was nice, but got no sunlight. Literally, you're just in the dark. There was only two windows in the entire place, and it's not a basement. So we literally got no sunlight, and it was, dude, it's brutal, man. It's so depressing. It'd be a sunny day outside, and it's perpetually dark in my apartment. So this was actually the original apartment I wanted to move to when moving to Philly. Like, this is what I wanted, actually. I'm literally like in the heart of Philly. I'm like across the street from the freaking center city, essentially. So I'm literally in the center of the city. This is the apartment I wanted. This apartment has so many freaking amenities, the same cost as the last one, and as you can see, we got light. Like, there's windows all throughout the entire house. Too many windows, too much sunlight, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I'm happy with this apartment. It's coming together. I got a new couch. Couch is blue now. We rocking the blue couch. Floor was gray. Hated the last couch. Loving this couch. Um, and yeah, I'm still playing around with the setup. I don't know what the setup is gonna be, to be honest with you. Um, yeah, I'm gonna play around with it. So next couple of weeks, you might see me in different spots throughout the apartment. So yeah, we're gonna figure it out. So anyone who is just listening, it doesn't matter. But people who are like watching it on YouTube, you're just gonna be like, "Yo, why is he changing like every episode, basically?" But it's just to keep you guys on your toes. But yeah, it's been 2 weeks. Sorry for not having an episode out last week. I was in the middle of moving, and the wire for my mixer was packed, so I couldn't find it. I had to unpack through multiple boxes. Still couldn't find it. I still can't find it. I don't know where it is. I found like a wire that basically looks like it, but it's definitely not the wire, but it resembles it, laying around my house, and it's actually working right now. My mixer can blow up at any time because I don't know, what the capacity is, etc. But so far it's working, and hopefully nothing happens. So yeah, we're getting through it, guys. We're getting through it. But basically, I wanted to talk about in this episode the whole Austin Metcalf situation, Carmelo Anthony situation. So, in case you were living under a rock, there was we don't know yet if basically it's a murder, essentially. Whether if it's in self-defense or not self-defense, that's the thing that people are debating. But the fact that it was a murder, that's, above question. Like, it definitely happened. So both guys were 17 years old, Austin Metcalf being white, Carmelo Anthony being black. So that's a big reason for the discourse online right now. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because, one, of course, it is trending and it's something that just recently happened. And I want to be, on top of the times, if you will. But more importantly than that, this is a really weird situation in that, at least for my end, it's so hard to determine what's factual and what's not factual regarding the case. And the case is ongoing. It hasn't even went to trial yet. So, further developments down the line, I'll definitely touch back and cover this when it happens. But as far as like what actually occurred, it's so hotly debated online, and things are theories and shit's flowing around everywhere that I'm just like, yo, what actually happened? Like literally, like scene for scene, what happened? Like, people are saying this, people are saying that, and it's one of those things that you just don't know. Like, okay, like what is the truth here? Like yes, the incident happened, but what is the truth of the incident? Like, what actually occurred? So I did like a lot of, you know, I did a lot of digging just to find out, okay, what was the facts wise, what occurred, and from there, Carmelo Anthony's point of view and also Austin Metcalf's point of view, and from there determine, in my personal opinion, was it self-defense, and is it possible that Carmelo Anthony can get off of the case, essentially, or get off on murder charges, excuse me. So let me start from the top on what actually occurred. So on April 2nd, 2025, Austin Metcalf and also Carmelo Anthony, I think they're both 17 years old. So So Austin Metcalf was a student at Memorial High School in Texas, Frisco, Texas, and he was fatally stabbed while attending a high school track meet. And he died later of his injuries on the scene, unfortunately, RIP. So the stabbing occurred at Memorial High School, and approximately at 10 a.m. on April 2nd, 2025. The altercation started when Metcalf told the accused to move from the Memorial team's tent. So basically, it seems that Carmelo Anthony, who doesn't seem to go to that school, was hanging around like the premises where they're about to do the track meet, and Austin just told him, "Yo, like you can't be here, bro. Like we're about to set up, we're about to start like this, like we're about to do our thing. Like you can't be here, essentially." Apparently there was a verbal argument between them ensued. During the argument, the accused, so Carmelo Anthony, told Metcalf that touch me and see what happens, which it's a very commonplace term within urban environments or amongst the younger kids or high school kids. I've definitely said it like a million times growing up, so that's not something that's out of the ordinary. And he was saying that while reaching into his backpack. So Metcalf grabbed the other party and asked him to leave the tent again. In response, the accused said, "Punch me and see what happens." Then he pulled out a black knife, apparently, from the backpack and stabbed him once in the chest before running away. So the bloody knife was later found by the police in the bleachers. After being stabbed, Austin grabbed his chest and told everyone to get help. When the police arrived, he was not conscious or breathing. Multiple athletic trainers were performing CPR on him despite the efforts of his brother, responding EMTs, and other people to revive him. Metcalf was pronounced dead minutes after arriving into the hospital, unfortunately. So essentially, he died at the scene. So naturally, the accused was charged with first-degree murder and transport to Collin County. He was charged as an adult, which being 17 years old, for the Texas criminal justice system, anyone 17 and older are prosecuted as adults, which personally I think that's fair. I don't like the whole aspect of, like if you're under 18, you get charged as a child, because there's a lot of cases where, kids who are 13, 14, 15 years old would commit like these violent crimes and then just get off when they're 18 or 21, essentially, and not do it like the full time that someone who is above age can do. There is instances where, like, if it's actually a child, like 7 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, and they commit a crime, I get that. But if you're late into your teenage years, I think you should be tried as an adult. But that's just my personal opinion, and that varies across states. So when it comes to a lot of this legislature and I'm blanking out on the exact term for it. It's called stand your ground in Texas as far as the law, but like self-defense law. Thank you. So when it comes to self-defense laws, it's actually per state. So it's not like a national self-defense law. It's actually based on the state, which is kind of insane. I feel like it should be one like national rule set, if you will, and have the states make their own like revisions to it. But to have it just based on state by state is actually kind of crazy to me. America's fucking ass backwards, to be honest. But yeah, so he was tried as an adult on April 14th, 2025. Judge Angela Tucker agreed to release the accused from jail, citing his clean criminal record. So apparently this kid had no criminal record whatsoever. Which makes the case so much more strange, in his background in academics and athletics. So apparently he was like a really good athlete and just a really good kid when it comes to academics overall. He was placed under house arrest with an ankle monitor. His bond had also been lowered from $1 million to $250,000, which a lot of people were kind of upset at that why was his bond lowered, so like basically lowered by 3/4. And when you look at previous cases, this is typically a case for kids or for anyone who has like a very clean record, which Carmelo Anthony does. So that's the reason why they overall lowered the bond, and that's across kids who are black, kids who are white, etc. When these kind of things kind of tend to happen. So there's a lot of discourse online regarding that point, but I don't personally see an issue there. Yeah, according to the conditions of his release, he must be supervised by a parent and or adult at all times. So he's also required to contact the judge's plaintiff every Friday morning. He is prohibited from using social media and is banned from contacting the family of Austin Metcalf. The lawyer of the accused said that he would plead not guilty and claim self-defense at his future trial. So they're going with not guilty, self-defense. Everything happened as self-defense. He was just trying to defend himself. So according to District Attorney Greg Willis, the accused would not be eligible to be sentenced for life without parole or the death penalty if convicted of murder because he is a juvenile. A bond hearing is scheduled for April 28th. Which I did all of this prior to April 28th, excuse me. So unfortunately, I don't have the bond hearing and that kind of stuff as far as details goes there. But it does make sense that he won't, be sentenced to life without parole or the death penalty because he's technically under 18 years old. I personally don't have an issue with that. So thankfully, even if he is convicted, he doesn't, it's possible for him to be released from jail at some point further down the line. So the discourse online was just so bizarre. People were saying, oh, they knew each other. They did know each other. It was premeditated. And regarding specific topics like, oh, yeah, like Austin put his hands on him first, Austin attacked them. There was multiple people apparently with Austin during this occurring. So like his brother and I think a few other people on the track. He's like, oh, they tried to jump him, etc. So that's why I was so confused in the beginning, trying to figure out, okay, what actually happened here, And granted, social media and Twitter specifically are not good sources of information. But I was just seeing that kind of everywhere. Okay. So I want to get to Metcalf's point of view, and I want to get to Carmelo Anthony's point of view. As far as Metcalf's point of view is more so like the situation that occurred, maybe his family's point of view, because unfortunately he is gone. And I'll get to Carmelo's point of view. Can he technically get off on self-defense? And I'll finish up with some last touches, essentially. Okay, so the first things first, the one thing that I found really, really strange here was the fact that when it comes to self-defense, I get it in a scenario where you are, in public or, just out and about in the world, but this happened in a school, so it's going to be tough to play that self-defense card when you brought a deadly weapon to school. And I needed to double check just to make sure, because laws between each state are crazy, especially with Texas, who are very lenient with these things. So I need to double check just to make sure. And yes, it is illegal to bring a weapon to school on Texas grounds. This includes firearms, knives, clubs, other prohibited weapons. Specifically is a Class A misdemeanor to intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly possess or enter the premises of a school with such a weapon. If the weapon is exhibited or used, or if there is a threat to use immediate access, it can escalate to a third-degree felony. So even if he does get off on murder by self-defense, I think they're gonna get him somehow, because at the end of the day, you kind of brought a weapon into school where you can't do that, even if he did, and he can't claim that he did know he had the weapon, he had no clue, because he was threatening to get the weapon out while he was saying, touch me and see what happens, and he was reaching to his backpack. And on top of that, all the people that are there are technically against him, so they're going to testify against him. He doesn't have any witnesses of his own on the scene, so all the witness testimonies are on behalf of Austin Metcalf, and they're just going to paint the picture that this guy was violent from the get-go, which yelling, touch me and see what happens while you're reaching into your backpack, that there's no way you can say you didn't have the knife. You willingly, knowingly had the knife, and you willingly, knowingly utilized it, whether it be in self-defense or not self-defense on school premises. So I don't think he's going to get off completely in regards to Even if he does prove, even if he does, excuse me, sorry, having a stroke. Even if he's able to prove that it was self-defense, I still think they're going to get him on the felony. So I think overall he might be doing time, to be entirely honest with you. And that's the case for Austin Metcalf. And Austin Metcalf, they're all saying he was the aggressor. Basically, this issue was escalated beyond belief. These guys, they know each other. Carmelo was not supposed to be on that school premises. Technically, I looked at the laws for Texas as well. You can be on school grounds even if you're not a student of that school, which he wasn't, or I don't think he wasn't from the research that I did. So he didn't do anything technically wrong there. But when you look at it as a whole picture, it's like, bro, you're technically not supposed to be there. They told you to move multiple times, and seemingly you were the aggressor from what it looks like and what they're going to testify against you. And you're trying to, and basically you escalate the situation, if you will. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be tough for him to get off, to be entirely honest with you. Even if he gets off of self-defense, I think they're going to get him on something else. And I don't think people should be surprised given the situation as a whole. But for Carmelo Anthony's point of view, so in Texas, self-defense is defined by Texas Penal Code 9.31. So it allows a person to use force against another if they reasonably believe it's immediately necessary to protect themselves from unlawful force. So this includes defending oneself, others, or property, but the use must be proportionate to the threats. So Texas also has a stand your ground law, meaning that individuals can defend themselves without retreating, especially on their home and or vehicle. The stand your ground law is pretty common within Texas, especially for people who are trying to like home invade into someone's home and they have to defend themselves or defend their vehicles. So in those instances, people can get off on self-defense very, very easily. I remember there was some guy, like the guy who went viral freaking 11 years ago. I'm dating myself here. Like the Tyrone guy who used to say, I'm here to fuck your wife. And it was like very common in Vine. Fuck, I'm so old. It was so common in Vine and people were laughing about it. So he did that in Texas. He knocked on someone's door. He's a big, brolic dude, He's like, yo, my name is Tyrone. I'm here to fuck your wife. Obviously, he's joking when he does this, but he's serious. His demeanor looks serious, and he says it very aggressively. He starts that confrontation. And the guy was like, oh, word, you are? Came back in, used a shotgun, and just shot him in his stomach. And that guy got off because it was technically stand your ground. He walked on someone else's premises saying he's going to fuck their wife, and the person shot him in retaliation, which makes sense. Granted, that person didn't know this person was just playing a joke or a prank, but how are you supposed to know that? If someone comes to your door saying they're going to fuck your wife in Texas, you have the right to shoot that person essentially because of the stand your ground law. So a lot of people, when they think of Texas self-defense laws, they think of the stand your ground law, but it has to be, self-defense in Texas as a whole has to be in proportion to the threats. So if your life is in danger, you can utilize a deadly weapon. Like legitimately, if your life is in moral danger, you can utilize a deadly weapon in Texas to defend yourself and possibly, in this case, murder the other person, or whatever the case may be. So, but it has to be proportional. So Metcalf is kind of going to try to argue, or Metcalf's, team is going to argue that it didn't warrant that, which you can definitely argue that it did not warrant it. So I do think, yes, technically from the looks of it, if Austin Metcalf did try to put his hands on him or try to move his backpack or something like that, it technically is self-defense, but it was escalated. So it wasn't in alignment with, when it comes to self-defense laws in Texas, especially for unaliving someone essentially, that you have to, the threat didn't outweigh the assault essentially. So that's a big component that I think Austin Metcalf's team is going to utilize for their prosecution for Carmelo Anthony. And I think Carmelo Anthony's team is going to have a really hard time in their hands trying to portray that, hey, his life was in danger, because a lot of people are going to be like, yo, his life was not in danger. He escalated this beyond belief. And again, the witnesses there are not on his behalf. They're on Metcalf's behalf. So they're going to make him seem like he's the aggressor, and he's really not going to have anyone to defend him in that regard. So it's going to be tough, man. It's really going to be tough. And also when it comes to the Texas stand your ground laws, or the Texas defending laws, the self-defense laws. So you have to prove that you try to utilize self-defense and then not jump into the straight unaliving someone. So you have to prove that like you kind of like de-escalate the situation, or like again, like your life was in mortal danger before unaliving someone, which in this case is going to be hard for him to prove that he did that. Granted, he did say like touch me and see what happens, but I don't think that's going to fly in court, to be honest with you, because it's such a broad and general term that so many people utilize that I don't think the judge is going to take that seriously as like, yo, he gave him a warning. Now, if he was like, yo, I got a knife, I'm not afraid to use it, don't touch me, back off, etc., then I think that's a probable cause in stating that, yo, he did give him proper warning, and try to like de-escalate the situation. And then Metcalf just, was the aggressor in that regard, and the whole situation occurred, but that didn't happen. So they're going to paint the picture that Carmelo was unfortunately their aggressor in this situation. And the thing that kind of sucks about all of this is that Carmelo turned himself in to the police. He apparently was very regretful for what happened. He was like sobbing, crying. He was asking if Austin Metcalf was still alive, that he lived. When he found out that Austin died, like he was crying as well. And this is from the reports of like the officers and stuff like that handled the situation. So it just seems like it was like at the heat of the moment kind of thing, man. And especially because they literally did not know each other. There was no bad beef or bad will, or, ill will or any of that stuff between them. It's just like a heat of the moment situation that was escalated further beyond what it needed to be entirely honest with you. And yeah, man, I think overall it's going to be kind of tough for him to get off in this regard. And the one thing that I don't like about this situation and what everyone's talking about it online is that people are they're trying to make it a race thing. They're really trying to make it a race thing. And I can see the component of that because, like, white dude dies, black dude was the killer essentially, and people are trying to make it more outraged. Everyone that's of color is saying, yo, Carmelo defended himself. Everyone that's white saying, yo, Anthony was straight up murdered and that didn't need to happen. And listen, we don't know the specifics yet. Still going to trial. We'll see at the end what the verdict is. But I'm not trying to look at it as a race thing. I just think overall, it's just an unfortunate situation that, one kid that had a perfect academic record, no criminal history, murdered another that had a perfect academic record, no criminal history. I just think it's not necessarily a freak accident, because clearly this was not an accident. This is intentional. I just think this escalated further beyond belief, and it sucks that it just happened overall across the board. But yeah, that's the Austin Metcalf and the Carmelo Anthony situation. And also, bro, why'd you have to name him Carmelo Anthony, man? Like, there was a meme online where like a picture of Carmelo Anthony and someone commented like, yo, he didn't have to do that boy like that. It's just like, it's spelled exactly the same, but with a C rather than a K. It's like, bro, like, why'd you have to name him that, man? Maybe his parents are from New York, and they're like big Carmelo fans. Carmelo's a legend in New York, bro. Puerto Rican legend as well. So I love Carmelo. But like, bro, like once I saw the name, I was just like, come on, bro. Like, come on, son. Why'd you have to name him that, man? Like, but it is what it is. It's his name. He can't do anything about it, unfortunately. Technically, he could change it, but he's probably not going to do that. And also, dude, just a rule of thumb when using knives. You never stab. If you're a young dude listening to this, bro, you never stab. You only slash. Because for a slash, yes, you're definitely injuring someone, but you're not killing them. Unless you're fucking, slicing over here, and that's a different story. Don't do that. But if it's just a slash that you could $150 someone, you're not dead. they're still alive. They can get stitches. They'll be okay. And if they are the aggressor and your life is in danger, once you do that, like, you give someone a few slashes and they're like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, you know? So never stab, only slash. Like, when utilizing knives, please consult your local Puerto Rican beforehand for like proper guidelines and our best practices. So never stab, only slash. That's my tidbit there as well, just in case you guys ever get into that situation, you know what to do. um but yeah, I don't see the kid getting off on this one, to be honest with you. I think there's too many things going about him. Unfortunately, there is a race issue going about him. So, a black kid murdering a white kid, it's not really going to fly that great anywhere in America, especially not in Texas. That's number one, unfortunately. That's just how America is. On top of that, the argument for self-defense is not that strong. Even within the Texas rules and regulations for self-defense, is still on the weak side. He brought a weapon into school, which, even if it in and of itself is a felony. So I just don't think he's getting off, man. I think this is such unfortunate circumstances, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this. I am no legal expert by any means. I am not a lawyer. I'm just a random Puerto Rican dude talking about this. So please don't take this as fact that he will not get off. Like, I don't know. Anything could happen. Not a lawyer again. But yeah, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.